Hey everyone! Today we're going to check out the legendary Paul Morphy as he demonstrates the proper way to play the Italian game, helping you dominate your opponents in no time. Alright, let's start by diving into the two knights' defense. He played pawn to d4, choosing to counterattack rather than defend the pawn on e4. This opening is a great choice, especially for players below 1600, as it allows fast, crushing attacks. So, in the game, black captured the pawn on d4, which is the most common response. But if they capture the other pawn, it's a big mistake. After white recaptures on e5, the knight has no safe retreat, and white threatens queen to d5, which could deliver a double attack on the knight and set up a checkmate on f7, and you can win games effortlessly. For example, if black plays bishop to c5, attempting to coordinate an attack against pawn on e4, this move fails due to queen to d5, once again attacking pawn on f7 and the knight on b5e4. Or alternatively, you can reverse the move order by first playing bishop takes on f7, forcing the king out, and then following up with queen to d5, delivering a check and a double attack. Once the king moves, you regain your material with extra benefits. Now, you are up a pawn, their king is exposed, and they have lost the right to castle. You can simply continue with knight to c3, bishop to g5, castle, and secure a winning position with ease. Back to the game. Black captured the pawn on d4, and Morphy simply castled. This led to the famous moment where Morphy locked eyes with his opponent and said, "At this point, you have a choice. Take the white pill, and you'll understand what a real attack looks like. If not, I'll take the black pill, and you'll suffer for nothing." His opponent, somewhat puzzled, chose the first option, and, as promised, found himself under a relentless attack. Now let's consider the other possibility. One of the common responses from black in this position is bishop to c5, attempting to defend pawn on d4 so that you cannot immediately recapture it with your knight. What should you do in this case? Let me quickly explain so that you're fully prepared to play this opening and win no matter what your opponents choose. The downside of bishop to c5 is that it completely ignores the threat of pawn on e5, which is ready to advance and drive away the knight. This often creates serious problems for black, as they struggle to find a proper response. Typically, they try knight to g4, attempting to relocate the knight while also setting up a double attack against pawn on e5. There are different ways to handle this position, but my favorite approach is pawn to c3. I believe it's the simplest. We don't need to worry too much about this pawn because if black captures it, we can simply bring our rook to e1, putting them in serious trouble with their king still on e8. If black plays pawn takes on c3, which is the most common move, they have already blundered. The same tactic from an earlier variation comes into play. Bishop takes on f7. We've seen this before, and it works just as effectively here. After king takes on f7, you still have the standard move queen to d5, delivering a double attack against the king and the bishop, which is already a winning position. But there's an even trickier alternative, knight to g5, delivering a check. The king is now forced to move, and in most cases they go to g8, trying to hide in the corner as if they were castling. At this point, while queen takes on g4 is an option, there is an even stronger move. Can you spot it? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. You can completely catch your opponents off guard, as they expect you to simply capture the knight, but instead you deliver a check, and suddenly on the next move it's checkmate. Now we can see that knight takes on e4 is not just a greedy move to capture a pawn, but also a somewhat defensive maneuver. If black doesn't capture this pawn, it will advance forward and create serious threats anyway. In the game, black captures on e4, and now white plays rook to e1, a standard idea, pinning the knight to the king and increasing the pressure. Black responds with pawn to d5, and for a moment, it looks like they are in great shape. They are up 2 pawns, defending their knight, and also attacking the bishop on c4. At first glance, it seems like you miscalculated something. However, you shock your opponent with bishop takes on d5, a stunning sacrifice. And right after that, you follow up with yet another brilliant move, knight to c3. Some might say, that's just a book move. Everyone knows it. But when I first saw it, it felt incredible. You play an unexpected knight move, placing it where it seems capturable, yet it's completely pinned from both sides. The knight can't take it, as it's pinned to the king, and the pawn can't capture either, being pinned to the queen. Black is forced to move the queen instead, a truly fascinating move that will shock an unprepared opponent. Also, this knight must have been listening to motivational speeches all night. because it's about to make a huge impact on the game. Black now moves the queen to h5, and white recaptures their lost material, with knight takes on e4. At this point, black must be very careful and block the e-file. In the game, black played bishop to b6, but what if they tried something else? Some opponents might play bishop to g4 or bishop to b4, attempting to attack. However, this would be a huge blunder. Instead of defending the rook, you unleash a devastating discovered check with knight to f6, a brilliant double check that wins instantly. The king must move, and while it also forks the queen, you don't even need to capture it because a sneaky checkmate follows right after. Black correctly blocked the e-file with bishop to e6, but white immediately took advantage of the open file with knight to g5. The knight attacks the bishop, which is pinned, while the rook adds even more pressure. At this point, black was already in trouble and should have castled to bring the king to safety. Instead, they played bishop to b4, trying to counterattack the rook while preparing to castle kingside. Of course, Morphy wouldn't simply defend. He found something much more exciting. In the game, he sacrificed the rook on e6, a brilliant move that kick-started a deadly attack. The simpler option was knight takes on e6, allowing continuous attacks without sacrifices. But this knight was too fired up to retreat, so Morphy had no choice but to keep it there and sacrifice the rook instead. After knight takes on e6, we now have a powerful octopus knight, threatening knight takes on g7, forking the king and queen, and knight takes on c7, forking the king and rook. On top of that, it controls key squares, making castling impossible for black. To deal with this, black played queen to f7, attacking the knight and defending the pawns. Morphy simply brought in the other knight, threatening the queen while supporting the knight on e6. The queen had to move, and Morphy followed up with queen to e2. At first, queen to e2 looks mysterious, but it creates a specific threat. With the queen on the e-file, the knight can capture either pawn on g7 or pawn on c7. For example, if black plays anything like knight takes on c7, the queen can't capture or move away, as it's pinned to the king. This allows white to trade queens and win the rook. In response, black played bishop to d6, trying to protect the pawn, but Morphy followed up with knight to g7, delivering a check. The queen is still pinned, so black tried king to d7, aiming to bring the rook into play. However, Morphy responded with queen to g4, another check. The only move for black is king to d8. At this point, Morphy sacrificed the knight. There's no better explanation. He could have attacked without any sacrifices, but he went for it anyway. After black captured the knight, Morphy played bishop to g5, continuing his signature style of sacrificing pieces to speed up development and gain a quick attack. While black is technically up a rook, both rooks are stuck in the corner, while white is ready to launch a massive attack. Black played bishop to e7 to shield the king, but Morphy responded with knight to e6, delivering another check. Black considered king to e8 as the best move, but it allowed knight takes on c7, leading to a devastating fork of the king and rook. Instead, black played king to c8, a blunder that wasn't easy to spot. The follow-up was knight to c5, opening up a discovered check. Now black is at a crossroads. Moving the king anywhere leads to disaster, like queen to d7, which would result in checkmate. The only move left is king to b8. Interestingly, this game is called Morphy's casual game in the annotations. I wish my casual games were like that. Morphy played knight to d7, delivering a check. After knight to b6, a double check forces the king to b8, its only safe square. Then, Morphy sacrificed his queen with queen to c8, leading to a brilliant checkmate. I hope you understand all variation. If you found this video as helpful, then like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.